I'm just going to come clean. I did not enjoy Rayman 2: The Great Escape. But hear me out, it's because I grew up on the Xbox. But also, I enjoyed it better on the 3DS. Hi, my name is Zin, and boy does that unsubscribe button look pretty right now. Obviously I'm joking. Hopefully. But saying I don't like Rayman 2 is a spicy take, especially in the Rayman fandom. I mean, come on! The Rayman wiki is literally named after the main villains in Rayman 2. Just a brief rundown in case you are a UbiArt girly like me. Rayman 2: The Great Escape was published in 1999 and the sequel to the original Rayman game. It's released on PlayStation, and Dreamcast, and Nintendo 64, and GBA, and 3DS. Okay, it had a lot of ports. Ignoring that, why is Spyro 2 in the title? Well, this isn't solely a Rayman 2 review. I got into the Spyro games a few months back after growing up on Skylanders. Yes, insulting two fandoms in one video. I'm trying to go for a record. After replaying through the Reignited trilogy because it was on Game Pass and I'm poor, I noticed a handful of similarities between Spyro 2 and Rayman 2. And to make things clear, this isn't really a video game review, it's more of a story comparison. As a result, I won't be going into gameplay. Mostly because I've never finished Rayman 2 and I don't own the original Spyro 2, but shush. If you want to see me dive into the gameplay and their individual pros and cons, I don't know, tell me I guess? As of now, it's a whole nother video. To start off this exploration, let's talk about one of the biggest changes for Rayman. Rayman 2: The Great Escape.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as fuck.
To keep it short, I don't like Rayman 2. I know, throw all the tomatoes you want. I'm confused as well. I seemed like the target demographic for a game like The Great Escape. As a sucker for angst and stories about dictators, don't ask. Rayman 2's story always stuck out to me. Even when I first got back into the fandom, I was super excited to play Rayman 2. So why am I such a hater? Ignoring gameplay, the story never felt right to me. Well, right as a Rayman game. Its tonal shift was crazy and it did a lot. It stuck out like a sore thumb, in a good and bad way. For those who don't know, the story of Rayman 2 is as follows. Admiral Razorbeard of the evil robo-pirates from outer space had come down to conquer the Glade of Dreams, enslave all its creatures, and destroy the world. At the very beginning of the game, it's straight to 100 as you watch Globox get thrown into a cage with Rayman. Like, even Rayman is depressed, like, bro, what happened in 4 years? Luckily, the two escape and the game starts officially. With the help of Lee, Globox, the Teensies, and several other friends, Rayman ventures to collect the 4 masks to wake the god Pelocus and save the world. And there's a fake out death. From my observations from various review videos, posts, and just watching the fandom, Rayman 2 seems to be a fan favorite by many, and for good reason. The game introduced new powers, mechanics, collectibles, and friends to the franchise. Lots of new friends. Friends that won't appear ever again, including a new female friend that gave powers and maybe the main character's love interest, before he gained 3 more. I played Rayman 3D, Rayman Revolution, and a totally legal version of the Dreamcast port that I got legally, and I've researched the game enough to know what I'm talking about. Hear me out though, I don't hate Rayman 2. I enjoy the soundtrack a lot, if the songs weren't so short, and the story, but I also dislike the story, if that makes sense. But Zin, you just said you liked the story, how could you say it's bad now? Good question, real viewer that thinks like that. Did I just contradict myself? Well, not really. I like Rayman 2's story in a vacuum. Basically, when I remove the rest of the franchise. And I'm not a Rayman 1 purist either. I'm a Rayman 3 glazer, which may have obliterated my whole argument now that I think about it. It's a pretty badass story, especially for a Rayman game. And I think it works really, really well. You know, ignoring the rest of the franchise. Rayman 2: The Great Escape is awesome by itself. It's dark and moody, but just optimistic enough to be enjoyable and not feel like you're failing your friends and family. And the constant examples of the stakes that Rayman is upon is a neat touch as well. The characters are also fun, though a bit basic. Lee is your typical girl mentor character, taking the role of Batilla in this game. She's very ethereal and more of a magical being like Pelocus than your typical ally. Globox is your fun, cowardly sidekick. Is a loving wife and 650 kids, with names that may or may not be fitting. The Teensies are amusing to watch dance around. I enjoyed the bits where they're fighting over the crown and stop the second Rayman asks for assistance. And Clark and Carmen and all the other NPCs are neat, even if they don't do too much. However, Rayman 2's story feels like I'm just gonna tell you straight, it feels like something straight out of AO3. To make it clear, that's not a bad thing. There's so many good stories on AO3 especially, and I would know because I write stories like this. What I'm trying to say is that Rayman 2 has a story a fan would make. Come on guys, let's be real here. The first title of the soundtrack is literally called English in Pain. You can't make this up. But in defending my case, let's look at another game in the same realm as Rayman 2 from another PlayStation platformer mascot. A game I think was done better than Rayman 2. Cue Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, or Gateway to Glimmer for my PAL viewers.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage is the second installment for the Spyro the Dragon series, also released in 1999. It was later remastered in Spyro Reignited Trilogy in 2018, which is the game I'm taking my footage from. I am not touching my PlayStation 3 again. However, I will sprinkle some gameplay of the original game in, with proper credit of course, just to show the similarities in graphics. That's it. In case you're out of the loop, Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage follows the defeat of Nasty Nork, with Spyro and Sparks wanting a vacation. They head to Dragon Shores, only to be transported to Avalar by the Professor, Elora, and Hunter to defeat the current ruler, Ripto. With the help from the three and several other friends, Spyro ventures to collect the 14 talismans to unite the realm and save the world. And there's a fake-out death. Now, I joined the Spyro fandom a few months ago, and I haven't officially dipped my feet in it. However, I've been watching videos, and Ripto's Rage being the general favorite is a very common claim for completely valid reasons. The game introduced new powers, mechanics, collectibles, and friends to the franchise. Lots of new friends. Friends that will appear in future games, including a new female friend that gave tips, and maybe the main character's love interest, before he gained 3 more. I've never played the original, but I heard that the remake is mostly faithful, at least to an extent, but this video isn't about that. In case it wasn't obvious, I absolutely adore Ripto's Rage. From the soundtrack, to the characters, to the story, and it's so much less lonely than Spyro 1 as well. Elora is your normal mentor character, but she prefers telling you lore than actually teaching you abilities. Also, she never appears again. Hunter is your cowardly sidekick and has a weird fascination with jumping and flying. I guess you love what you can't have. The professor is some old guy you need to collect orbs and pencils for, and the NPCs you meet in the various worlds are oddly memorable. I like how they've mentioned other worlds in the game, it makes it feel more connected. A quick side note about Moneybags, he basically, in a way, works as the Murphy of the universe, but if Murphy was a capitalist instead of a weird uncle. I do love the fact that in the games he appears in, you always get a chance to get your gems back at the end of the game. Very fun detail. We should be able to beat up NPCs more often. The story encapsulates the absolute essence of Spyro, maybe a bit more than Spyro 1. Spyro is quite literally just a dragon roped into saving the world because he happened to be there. And it's like that for the whole trilogy, and I love it. Yeah, Spyro would totally want a vacation, and sure, he would be down to beat up a dictator any day. The overall tone fits the characters pretty well. High stakes, but a fun vibe that matches the first game. It knows it's a bit silly and runs with it. Why exactly am I bringing this game up? Well, if I didn't make it obvious enough with Ctrl+C, but these games are eerily similar, even down to the publish date. Let's talk about that, shall we? Because I need someone to see my vision, please, I swear I'm not crazy.
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
If I had a nickel for every time a PlayStation platformer got a sequel in 1999 that introduced new characters, including a new female potential love interest, new abilities along with the ability to swim that killed you in the first game, a main gimmick being gliding, with the main setting being the world different from the old one, and the main antagonist being a short dictator not from that world and brought back in other media, even though they were supposed to die in the game they debuted in, I had 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? And if I had a nickel for every time a 3-goal introduced a skateboard mechanic, yeah, you get the picture. Rayman and Spyro are 2 oddly similar game franchises, even down to the suffering weight of 4th game. Here the Dragonfly and Origins don't give me that look, I know what you 2 are. Hell, they even had a spin-off using their name and images that spiraled into completely different franchises, eventually removing them entirely, and I happen to be a fan of both. Also, Crash and Spyro are literally what Rayman and Ed could have been, even down to the color schemes. But here's the catch. Out of the Spyro trilogy, Ripto's Rage is my favorite game. Out of the Rayman trilogy, The Great Escape is my least favorite game. Now come on! I left you guys in the intro! No, I'm not rage baiting or trying to get some angry comments telling me my opinion stinks because I like Rayman Origins or some other third reason. As stated in my Rayman 2 segment, I'm not a fan of Rayman 2's story with the idea of the rest of the franchise. The story and some characters are endearing, and I like the building blocks they were placing down before Rayman 3 came along and knocked it all over. But Rayman 2 also knocked down Rayman 1's building blocks, so I guess this family dynamic isn't the healthiest. Hear me out, Rayman 2 is not bad, far from it. It's probably just as good as Ripto's Rage, ignoring everything that came before and after. For Spyro 2, instead of kicking over the blocks and placing toy cars over it, it built on Spyro 1's blocks, making something bigger and grander. Spyro 3 was playing Jenga with the tower, but at least it added something. The story is phenomenal, just like Rayman 2, but it works even more because I can look at Spyro 1 and Spyro 2 and go, yeah, I can see the game progression. For example, Ripto's Rage story has a more lighthearted, goofy tone than Rayman 2, with charming cutscenes at the beginning and end of each level, and a lot other cutscenes. Even with the threat of Ripto, the game continues to be fun, not taking him too seriously, even though I think he's canonically killed fairies before, which is exactly how Spyro 1 played out. I mean, Nasty Nord quite literally won if it wasn't for Spyro being an itty-bitty fella. All the dragons were trapped for who knows how long, but everyone was low-key chill about it. Even Spyro was low-key chill about it as well, just rolling his eyes and dusting the dirt off his wings. At the ending cutscene, Spyro does not give two fucks about saving the world. He's like, yeah, I saved the world, want to see me do it again? With The Great Escape, if you went up to someone and explained the story of Rayman 1, then Rayman 2 without mentioning the game change, they'll probably understand it, but be extremely confused by the tonal shift. Honestly, if you told a random guy the plot of the whole trilogy, they'll look at you as if you just explained to them a typical Wattpad fanfiction or some crappy reboot that's framed as a sequel or another season. Luckily, The Great Escape isn't that bad. It's good, but not so much in the context of the whole trilogy.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
As a Rayman fan, I know that the series wasn't known for continuity, origins. Even then, some aspects stayed the same throughout the three games, mostly. People may say that comparing Spyro and Rayman is unfair because Spyro had relatively the same people working on the games and didn't have the creator dip near the end for another game, which I totally get. But ignoring the development and just looking at the base story, Rayman can learn some things from Spyro. They are both 3D platformers on the PlayStation at their core. For starters, Spyro didn't really try anything crazy with this story, like tonal-wise. Obviously the main antagonist was more involved, the amount of NPCs, and just the overall company in the whole game. But playing Spyro 2 after playing Spyro 1, the transition is pretty flawless. Nasty Nork even gets a mention! Mr. Dark could only dream of that recognition. There was still a threat of Ripto conquering all of Avalar, and the different realms going to war, but Spyro 2 proves that you can have a threat as scary as that, and still be fun and enjoyable. Rayman 2 is not fun. Story-wise, it's not fun. It's depressing, it's sad, it gives me a sense of urgency to fix it so people don't die. Spyro 2 gives me a sense of urgency to fix it because it's the right thing to do. And I feel like games should make the player want to do things out of kindness rather than obligation. Spyro could have easily said, not my circus, not my monkeys, and left. Even if Ripto obliterated his portal home, so he technically couldn't, he still stuck around to collect the 14 talismans and help Avalar, it being his only way home or not. And that's how it was back in Spyro the Dragon. Everyone got crystallized except him, and he was like, oh well, time to save the world, and did so. And that's what's great about Ripto's Rage. It feels like a Spyro game and fits in perfectly with Spyro the Dragon and Year of the Dragon. The collectibles stay consistent, the characters actually appear again after the game they're introduced in, and all around have a tone that all games share. A bit snarky, doesn't take things too seriously, and just full of charm. Rayman didn't even have consistent characters for Poloku's sake. Glowbox, Murphy, and the Teensies appear later on, but the rest got obliterated, and it's not like they didn't remember. There's literally a secret room involving Lee in Rayman 3. Even Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, though a bit confusing, brought back characters from Spyro 1 and 2. I'm not sure how Moneybags got into the Forgotten Realms with the fact Avalar is basically a different universe, and he didn't go in the portal of Spyro like Hunter did. And I do find it funny that characters from Avalar, a place where you need a super strong portal to even get there from the Dragon Realms, implying that the Forgotten Realms is even further or closer to Avalar is hard to tell, reappear in the sequel than Rayman, which takes place in the same world. In case someone got the wrong idea, I don't hate Rayman 2. Far from it. I respect Rayman 2, but that doesn't mean I like it. I value it for the step it took with the Rayman franchise. I appreciated it for what it was trying to do and take the brand. Rayman was eventually going to be 3D, so I'm glad it did it sooner than later. But even ignoring the inconsistencies in character and location, Rayman 2's biggest issue, in my opinion, is that it may have a quip, but it takes itself too seriously. Rayman can definitely have a darker story, go for it, but the amount of drama and gloom and overall negative vibes of the world being enslaved is just so serious, especially after the carefree attitude of the first game, that I can't help but be confused playing it. Just because something is mature and dark does not make it objectively good. I don't care if it's unfair for me to compare Rayman 2 with the rest of the other games because it was trying to do something else. If it was, why was it a sequel? Why couldn't it just pull a Rayman Brain Games or a Rayman Arena? Hell, why didn't it do what Rayman Origins did? It's basically a reboot. It has a completely different engine from the original games. Rayman 2 is a sequel, a continuation of Rayman 1. I have every right to hold it up to that expectation. But even then, Rayman can do it. Rayman can make something serious, whimsical. Let's bring up Rayman 3. As much as the alcoholic hoodlums, freaky bosses, questionable remarks, and huge features this game had made you giggle, the plot was still serious and world-threatening. If Rayman 3 did anything right, it would have been its course correction after Rayman 2. Like, Reflux and Andre almost won. Are we ignoring that part? But the difference between 2 and 3 was the tone. Rayman 3 didn't give two shits and was just having fun, even with a Glade Ride threat. Rayman was even freaked out in some cases, like with the Canaran and Reflux, who's also a Canaran. Speaking of the Canarans, they were terrifying. Everyone knows it, and it's the closest I can get to Rayman 2 when it comes to tone and valid comparisons. But as horrifying as the weird reptile things are, they were still lighthearted jokes and funny quips. One of the reoccurring voice lines is literally, "Make him write bad checks." That's what Rayman 2 should have been when it came to tone. It should have been on the level of the Desert of the Canaran. It can still be dark and scary, but still be a little whimsical because that's Rayman. Whimsy. It's what he was in all the other games. Imagine if Ripto's rage went the same direction as the Great Escape. How would the fans react if Ripto was out here killing fairies right off the bat? Obviously, some would appreciate it because a mature Spyro game seems awesome, but it's not awesome if it's smack dab in the middle of the trilogy. It throws the whole thing off, Spyro or Rayman. Even Spyro has his own mature section of the franchise as well. Isn't that what the Legend of Spyro trilogy is? If Rayman 2 was the Legend of Spyro of the Rayman franchise, I wouldn't have an issue. Hell, I may even like it better than the original. But it's not. It's a Rayman game. It's part of the Rayman trilogy. I'm not telling you that Rayman 2 is a bad game and you should never play it again. I'm saying that it's overhyped. It's a good game, but in my opinion, it is not the best Rayman game. Though, as of present day, it is really hard to tell the best Rayman games since they're all so different from each other. But I'm so tired of Rayman 3 being the one chat on for being different when they're all so different already. Rayman 3 may be a black sheep, but at the same time, they're all different colors of sheep that it's hard to tell which one stands out and which one fits in. At the end of the day, I do not care for Rayman 2, and I really hope you guys understand.